The Trump administration has just demanded that states claw back the money that was already released on Friday for SNAP. This comes after a late-night memo was released by the Department of Agriculture, which told states to undo any steps they've taken to issue full food stamp payments for November. Now it's at a point to where they're actually threatening financial penalties if states don't comply to it. Now, I live in a state as New Jersey that already on Friday started issuing all this food money out to people, which more than likely people probably went out and bought the food because they're already, a week into this whole thing, and people needed the money to buy food. So how does this work, and is it even legal? So technically speaking, yeah, technically it's illegal. The Trump administration can claw back that money. Why? Well, because there's a pending case right now. If you remember, on Friday, the Supreme Court kind of gave a temporary stay, giving power to pause the SNAP program. That pause was so that the Trump administration could fight it in court, but keep in mind that some of the money was already released. But the decision to do this came after it was already decided that the Trump administration had to give the money. We're kind of like in that legal limbo at this moment where it's just like, it is kind of up in the air. There is a temporary stay. The real legal question is whether or not the administration can actually change or pause SNAP benefits without Congress. That is actually what states like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, New Jersey are challenging in the courts at this very moment. Which I still need to ask, if there's a contingency plan out there worth $5 billion that is put there for this exact reason, why is the Trump administration purposely holding it back and starving people when it's there for this exact reason? Which, once again, people start getting into speculation. Is the money still there?
The administration could only have two possible reasons for doing this: keeping us poor and hungry, or causing violence in the streets, giving them more excuses to send the National Guard and Lord knows what else into our cities. I'm not sure if the admin was hoping for riots in the streets over this rather than people coming together and helping their community, but in case you missed it, overnight a memo was issued by the Trump administration and the USDA instructing states to take back the full SNAP benefits that were issued. Now, we already know that states like Wisconsin, who paid out full benefits, said, "No, we're not doing that," despite the threats listed in the memo. Listen, the administration wants to continue instilling fear in people. They want to provoke a reaction so they can continue to consolidate power under the executive branch. That's what this shutdown has really been all about anyway. And they want an excuse. They want an excuse to send the National Guard, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, Lord knows what else, into our cities to impose their will on the American citizenry. And now we're hearing that 10 Senate Democrats might vote with Republicans for a promise to vote on health care. I don't know, guys. What do you think?
Trump is now bullying states for feeding their own citizens. Trump has refused to provide SNAP benefits throughout the month of November amid the government shutdown, although he was court-ordered to do so by a federal judge. And emergency appealed that court order in order for him not to have to pay out any of the SNAP benefits, that being food stamps for American citizens to eat. So many states were providing their own funding for many of these American citizens to still eat even though federal funding was cut off. And now President Trump is sending them threatening letters, letting them know they are not allowed to provide any funding for SNAP, and they will be required to pay a fine for doing so. Yes, Trump is now threatening states with fines for feeding their own citizens, all because the leader of this country refuses to do so. How fucking sad and pathetic can this man get?
Family, many white folks in America today are regretting voting for Donald Trump. Donald Trump has proven to be a fascist leader. He has proven that he does not care about the interest of the citizens who actually voted for him in large numbers. The other day, Donald Trump bypassed, the ruling by a federal judge to ensure that Americans get, their food stamps for the month of November. Family, after the federal judge said the Trump administration must pay out SNAP benefits because the money was actually set aside in case the government, shuts down. Over $5 billion in dollars was set aside even before the government shut down and was already passed by Congress. After the federal judge said that, Donald Trump administration went ahead to appeal their decision. Other states thought that many Americans actually needed the money, and they went ahead to start distributing. Donald Trump has ordered them to stop, funding, their citizens. And he has warned them by saying that he will fine each and every state that has started issuing out the SNAP benefits. So family, I want you to watch this video all the way to the end as Americans complain of how they regret voting for Donald Trump, especially with his decision to stop food SNAP benefit. Let's watch this video all the way to the end. Once the video is done, we will get back and do a critical analysis about the same. Let's watch this video together, family.
All right, major news in terms of the SNAP program. Donald Trump's administration is demanding that states reverse and undo the work they've done to send the full food stamp aid. And he's threatened financial penalties to these states. So I want everyone to contextualize this. Donald Trump not only won't fully fund SNAP and is actively suing to not fund SNAP, and he's celebrating victories of him not having to feed people, but now when individual states, many blue states, decide to step up and feed people, because, it's a pretty important job for the government to feed people, not only will he not just be okay with that, he will threaten financial penalties if they don't undo it. So for those who say, well, I don't vote because Republicans and Democrats are the same. Well, under this presidency, the MAGA Republicans are fighting to not feed people, and the Democrats are fighting to feed people. The juxtaposition between the two parties could not be clearer. The Democrats are fighting to preserve people's basic dignity, keep people alive. The Republicans and MAGA, under Donald Trump, are fighting to take away all benefits from people who need it, to go ahead and give tax cuts to the rich and let everyone else out to dry. This president, once again, he cares about the billionaires, and he cares about his donors. I don't know how many more examples you need to see that he does not care, not for a second, about any one of us. Certainly doesn't care about you.
The Trump administration has just told states to undo full SNAP benefits, effectively cutting food stamp payments back down after a Supreme Court decision to put the program on hold. New guidance from the U.S. Department of Agriculture insists states to issue partial SNAP payments only, following the court's stay of a lower ruling that had ordered full benefits for November. Before this guidance, several states, including California, Wisconsin, Delaware, had planned to or already have paid out full benefits. Some even promised to use their own funds to cover the shortfall. But USDA now says that any state that moved forward with full payments acted without authorization. That means millions of families who expected full food assistance could see their benefits reduced or delayed. SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, serves more than 42 million Americans, mostly children, seniors, and working families. So this latest move adds confusion, uncertainty at a time when many households are already struggling with just staying fed.
So Trump today just told every single state that if they do not take away people's full SNAP payments, that he's now going to withhold their federal funding. What even is this style of governance? It's just pure cruelty. Imagine telling states that if they try to feed their own people, that you're just going to take away their funding. Imagine supporting that and still calling yourself a good person. Newsflash, you're not a good person.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have some really unfortunate news as Trump is demanding states must stop paying SNAP in full. The Trump administration is telling states that they cannot pay November SNAP benefits, and if they do, they could face financial penalties for that. A new memo from the USDA sent to states' directors of SNAP instructs states to only deliver 65% of the benefits and requires them to take away full benefits, only making it down to 65 for those people who have received the full SNAP benefits at this time. The memo claims, to the extent states send full SNAP benefit payment files for November 2025, this was authorized. Accordingly, states must immediately do any steps taken to issue full SNAP benefits for November 2025. This is actually insane and should not be allowed at all. People need to eat. That's why these benefits exist. And taking that from people, even now, would have huge repercussions. Truly, it would. The Trump administration is actively working against those who need these benefits, and it's not okay in any way, shape, or form. Americans need assistance, and if the government is not going to provide it or help them with that assistance, why are we paying taxes, truthfully? With that being said, though, thank you everyone for watching this video. Like, repost it to get the information out, and drop a follow for more news content. Bye.
In the wealthiest country in the world, where the news just broke that we were about to have our first trillionaire, the Trump administration has gone out 2 weeks before Thanksgiving and demanded that any SNAP money that has been paid out in full be taken back immediately. So the families that rely on SNAP to feed their children are now going to have that money taken off of their EBT cards. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, we have the President of the United States going to the highest court in the land to make sure that he doesn't have to pay out SNAP benefits to hungry, needy families. Wealthiest country in the world, where you have a trillionaire, and everybody is so excited about that. And here we have families that are not going to be able to eat. What would Jesus do?
The Trump administration this morning threatening to punish states that fund SNAP themselves for their own constituents is a commitment to ensuring that people starve. Okay, the federal government doesn't want to fund SNAP. There are some states that have been like, you know what, we're gonna fund SNAP because we care that people are able to eat in our state. And now the federal government is coming out to say, if you do that to those states, we're going to financially punish you for feeding their people. And I've seen some theories that it's to get desperate, hungry people angry and upset in the streets so that the government can invoke more laws to control people, which very well may be the goal. But at the very least, the goal absolutely is to intentionally make people suffer.
We have breaking news right now. The Trump administration is now demanding that states stop paying out full SNAP benefits to Americans that rely on it. And if they don't, they can face significant financial penalties from the administration. The New York Times is now reporting that what the Trump administration is essentially trying to do is telling states, you cannot pay full SNAP benefits to American families. And as Angie Craig, a top House Democrat, said, they're essentially trying to take away benefits from families that already receive them. And it puts major chaos on a system that is already in chaos, because the Supreme Court previously put in place a block on full SNAP payouts. But that doesn't mean that partial SNAP payouts couldn't continue. And many families actually received partial SNAP payments for November already. And now the Trump administration is trying to essentially claw that money back potentially, or stop states from paying out any further SNAP benefits to fulfill the full November amount. In any event, I've personally never seen an administration fight so hard to ensure SNAP doesn't go to American families.
Do we think that Donald Trump stole the SNAP contingency fund? Because I can't honestly think of another reason why the leader of a nation would actively go to court to keep from feeding their own people unless there was some other funny business going on behind the scenes. Now, we do know that a good chunk of his administration is filled with people who gladly would see a large segment of the population suffer and disappear. Stephen Miller, for example. He has openly expressed that he wants the population of the United States to be decreased by about 2/3. But this is more about the grift. Like, where is that money right now? And what is the logic behind not releasing the SNAP funds? Is it just about the shutdown? Because Republicans have been very good at just telling their congressional members to stay home and not come back to Washington to negotiate a budget deal. They don't need to use SNAP as a piece of leverage, but they are. Why? There's no political strategic advantage towards mistreating such a large segment of the population, especially if your other leaders in the Republican Party are going to be up for election in the midterms. So this is actually like they're really shooting themselves in the foot here by exerting this kind of punishment and pain on the American people, unless there's some other something going on that isn't quite on the level where we can see it yet. And I'm wondering if he didn't just embezzle those funds somehow. And way back in 2016, when Trump was running, we were warned. Hillary Clinton warned us that this is just about the grift. Lots of political commentators did. It wasn't just her. And we've known all along that he wanted to benefit and grift from this presidency. But what if he is actively, directly stealing from the United States Treasury right now? And if he is, and if SNAP is gone, is Social Security next? What do you think?
Family, Donald Trump has proven to Americans that he would go down to history as one of the worst president in the history of the United States of America. A president would rather see his citizens starve, for the lack of food, because Donald Trump has really tried so hard to ensure that Americans do not get their food stamp benefits for the month of November. He does not care what it takes. His goal is to ensure that now the funding, is not used for the month of November. His excuse is the government shutdown, but at the same time, a federal judge ordered him to ensure that Americans get the SNAP benefits for the month of November because, it was already passed. The funding, an emergency fund was already passed before the government shutdown. We are talking about $5 billion, dollars before the government shutdown. This money is already passed by the Congress, but Donald Trump is still not convinced to use these very funds to help Americans. And you wonder what is happening with the presidency, what is happening with Donald Trump, who are his advisors, why does he not want to support Americans in a time where Americans really are in need of him. More than 42 million Americans are now risking starvation. After the federal judge issued an order and said that they should actually release this funding, some states went ahead to ensure that their citizens do not starve in their states. They issued the funding. But family, right now Donald Trump is threatening them, saying that any state that would issue, the funds to their citizens would be fined, And family, you wonder, what does he get in return? Does he thrive? Is he happy when he sees Americans crying? Is he happy when he sees many Americans, more than 40 million Americans in starvation? Family, the most vulnerable group, in the 40 million population, is children. They're actually the most percentage, out of the 42 million, but Donald Trump does not care. His goal is to ensure that Americans starve. And family, this has sparked a lot of reaction online. Many white folks are questioning why they were loyal, to Donald Trump. White people are the majority who actually voted for Donald Trump because they thought that whiteness would thrive. They thought that Donald Trump becoming their leader would mean that they'll continue enjoying their white privilege. But family, right now we are seeing a whole different situation. We are seeing Americans, crying. We are seeing families go without having food on their table because Donald Trump has decided to hold funds which already passed before the government shutdown. Why is he even threatening states which are able to help their citizens? He does not want this funding to be used. He does not want for a section of Americans to be helped in a time where he stopped, funding that would help many Americans. Donald Trump has failed white folks very, very much because when I look at white farmers today, I wonder how they were actually convinced to vote for this man. Because right now, many farms are going bankrupt in the US. Look at Nebraska. Look at Arkansas. Many farmers are going bankrupt. They are not able, to afford paying the people working for them. Their crops do not have a market right now. Donald Trump ruined Chinese market to the white farmers in America today. Most of these white farmers depended to sell their soybeans, to China, but Trump introduced 100% tariff to China. When you leave that alone, if that is not enough, Donald Trump also decided to offer assistance, to Argentina. Gave out $40 billion to Argentina. And after he did that, Argentina revised their tariffs to China. And right now, as we're speaking, Argentina is selling China soybeans that could have potentially been sold by American white farmers. How much, are white people being disappointed by Donald Trump in America today? I'd say most of white folks are actually regretting putting him wherever he is today. Donald Trump has messed up Americans. He has messed up the economy. He has messed up the loyalty that white people had for him. Right now, black folks are just sitting by the side and laughing because they expected this. This is something that all black folks knew would come. Many black folks are actually laughing. Everyone is being affected right now. They thought that these would make white people not be affected when they voted for Donald Trump. Trump admin is appealing the decision by the federal judge not to fund Americans in such a critical time. How do they benefit from people starving? This is literally people's money. This is monies that are already approved by the Congress. This is taxpayers' money. I do not understand why they are holding the funds. I do not understand where Donald Trump wants to use over 5 billion shilling, which was already passed as emergency funding. You wonder what is happening in America today. Many white folks are regretting their vote. People are crying left, right, and center. People are crying over the cost of living. The cost of rent in America is skyrocketing each and every day. Maryland, Virginia, and DC started using the state funding, to cover, the SNAP benefits for the month of November. But that is not sitting well with Donald Trump. He's now threatening these states that they must be fined. Over 16 million of the people benefiting directly, the most vulnerable groups that are benefiting from the SNAP benefits, 16 million of them are children. These children are on the risk of going hungry. They are pushing an appeal to stop people from getting food. Donald Trump is pushing to stop these 16 million children out of the 42 million Americans who fully depend, on food stamp benefits. Donald Trump is trying, to just deny 16 million children an opportunity to see food on their table. Family, you wonder, where did Donald Trump come from? Why is he making the lives of Americans very, very hard? He's fighting not to feed people. They're using these as a political bargaining chip. Children, seniors, and veterans and people with disabilities are the most affected. And you wonder, why is Donald Trump doing nothing in regards to this? Why is he threatening states? Family, these are very, very sad times because, myself, I did not see this coming under the tenure of Donald Trump. He's literally destroying each and every sector in his government. Many a times I ask my questions. Why is he doing this? Who advises him? What is he doing? Family, when you look at this from a spiritual realm, you'd notice that America is falling. And Donald Trump is being used as a vessel to ensure that America falls. Babylon is falling. White America is crying. White Americans are regretting their vote for Donald Trump. And family, I just tell you freely that crazier times are coming ahead. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think about this video. Let me know if Donald Trump's decision makes sense to you. Kindly like the video so that it can be recommended to other YouTube users, and I'd be very, very grateful. Lastly, I'd really appreciate if you all took your time to subscribe to the channel. We are currently on the road to 50,000 subscribers, and fam, I'd really, really appreciate if you all would be a part of the journey. Share this video with your family and friends, and I'd really, really appreciate. Thank you so much, and see you all in our next episode. Goodbye for now.